Well, I was born in Australia, in Queensland, Australia, in 1952, which was about 5 years after I had vacated my last body. I stepped out of the body consciously because I was aware that I had a mission to carry out on planet Earth, and I was actually born with a vague awareness of this mission, which stayed with me through my childhood. I had quite a lot of contact experiences through my childhood, but I had chosen, before being reborn down here, not to be consciously aware, because I wanted to experience the fear of ET contact purely from an Earth human perspective. So as a child, I actually did go through quite a lot of fear, and it was a little bit of a sort of a fear-longing thing with me. I was split in two, because the fear was there, but at the same time I missed aware that there was this other family elsewhere that I really wanted to connect with. I missed them very badly. One of the main experiences that I remember took place when I was 15 years old, or thereabouts. I remember waking up in the middle of the night with the body paralysis that so many people experience and talk about in connection with contact with ETs. I remember lying there struggling to wake myself up, heart beating, and I just couldn't bring myself out of it. I was trying to call out to my parents, but calling out but no sound coming out of my mouth, and I watched the doorknob of the room turning, slowly turning, and I promptly then lost consciousness. I woke up the next morning with a vague memory of this happening, but no understanding of what had actually gone on. I had a strange owl experience. People often talk about having experiences with owls. This was many years later. I was married and we were living on an acreage property in a typical Queensland style house that was up on stumps, and I was sitting under the house reading a book, and this bird came flying in and perched on a rafter right above my head. I'd been aware of it around on the property for a few days, and I sort of felt that it wanted to contact me, but I've got a bit of a bird phobia. So I was sort of, okay, I know you're there, but don't come near me. So it took matters into its own hands and came and perched on a rafter above my head. So, of course, being the brave person that I am, book over my head and running out from under the house. And there were only two narrow entrances, so it was, pretty big of this bird to come in there. That's why I know it was an owl, because no other bird would do that. It was a big bird, looked like a bird of prey. So once I got out from under the house, I stayed outside watching both doors, waiting for it to come out, and it didn't appear. So after a few minutes I got my courage up and went back under the house, still with a book over my head, and it was completely disappeared, never to be seen again.
What's the actual symbols with owls? Because not a lot of people experience the owls.
They do. The greys will show themselves in these sort of screen images, because, it's potentially frightening for a person to see a grey. The greys, most people know what they look like. They have the narrow face and the great big eyes. And they're aware that they don't want to frighten people. So often they will take on a screen image, and they will often choose that of a type of animal that has big eyes. Like, for example, an owl. Some people see them as deer. Some people see them as cats.
Okay, cool. I thought it was a cow.
Yeah. They can actually even put their essence into an animal. Like, I had a pet cat when I was a child, and I know now that my grey elder teacher was working through this cat.
Really?
Yeah, it was quite interesting. He had a very different energy about him. And now I've got the books out. I've had emails from all over the world, people who've had contact experiences. Many of them talk about how they have a cat that acts a bit strange, or some other animal.
How do you think it takes place for a grey to go into a body of an animal of some sort?
Okay, we all have a physical form, and the greys look one way, we look another way as humans, but all of us are basically energy. We're energy beings, and they can consciously remove their spiritual essence of what their true being from what they call their container, which is their physical body. So once they are in that energy form, they can permeate into another form or create a form for themselves, which they will often do. So some of that spiritual essence or energy can be placed inside a pet animal, or they can create the form of a cat for themselves and decide to move in with a family. So that's the procedure they go through.
I'm assuming it must be pretty difficult though, like for us to understand. I mean, for someone like just a human to understand the procedure, from the essence to get into a physical body.
From the Earth human perspective, we do it ourselves every night. We leave our physical body and go off during the dream state. So it's just a matter of lifting up out of the body. That's all the procedure that's used, and or coming back down into the body. It's just sort of melding. I mean, every material, gross matter, physical form, is made up of molecules. So it's just a matter of the energy body moving up through the molecular structure of the body and then melding back down into it. It's very hard to actually describe in physical three-dimensional terms. It's sort of like, probably the closest analogy I can make is like water being poured through a sieve.
What was your original mission?
Basically to spread information down here. The problem is there's been so much disinformation spread on planet Earth, so much fear. And my mission, and not just mine, I mean there's many people down here working the same way as I am. Our mission is to overcome this disinformation and teach people what's really going on. That the whole thing is not about fear, it's about love, and that we have our empowerment within ourselves. So really there's nothing to fear. I mean, we have source or God energy within us, whatever term people like to use down here. We have this within us, so I mean we have the power. So really there's nothing to fear, providing we can access this self-empowerment. And this is what a lot of visitation and contact with the Greys, and of course other ETs as well, is all about, helping people to awaken. And that's a term that they will use. They'll say, we're here to awaken you. And it's to awaken deeper levels of your own consciousness so that you can become a more empowered being.
What's the actual procedures of being a human by day and Zeta by night?
Zeta by night. Well, when I go to bed at night, and they make sure I go to bed early, I'm not allowed to sort of stay up all night because I have to place the human body into a relaxed sleep state before I can step up out of it. Because I don't want it to drop down on the floor unconscious. So once the human body is closed down, I just basically sit up out of it and get up and go up onto the ship. Because, I mean, we create with our own thoughts, so by thinking myself there, I'm there immediately.
Where do they keep the actual Zeta? Do you just remember just going into it and then...
Yeah, and then it wakes up just the same as I wake up in the morning here.
Is it kept on the bed, or is it...
Yeah, we have crew quarters up on the ships, so there are like beds that you lie down on.
Cool. See, I like that.
And they're really magical. They're made out of a sort of a plastic material, but they actually mould themselves to your body, so that any shaped body can lie down on them. And they mould themselves, so they're just totally comfortable. But they also have the effect of healing the body, and we also go through a sort of a defragging process. It's a good term. It's good having computer terminology down here to explain it, because it defrags our consciousness. Because while we're up there, our consciousness is linked into the ship. The mothership's it's almost like a womb. So after working down here all day, which isn't the easiest planet to work on, planet Earth's actually one of the hardest species, Earth human species, one of the hardest in the universe for us to work with. So when we go up onto the ship, we're always ready to lie down for a few minutes and be defragged. And then I just carry out whatever duties I have to carry out up there. Do some work with the hybrids, carrying out different procedures on people. We do a lot of healing work. Many people from down here are taken up on the ships to be healed.
Okay.
So most of the work I do is involved with healing.
Okay.
I have one very clear conscious memory of actually removing an implant from someone's head up there. And I actually came in through the door in my grey form, and he managed to sort of turn his eyes like that and see me, and the look of horror on his face was just you forget that you're in that body, and I suddenly realised, oh yes, that's right, I'm in this body. And I tried to communicate with him because he was someone that we were taking up on a fairly regular basis. And I tried to communicate and say, look, come on, and we're not going to hurt you, we're up here, we're going to help you. But I couldn't get through because when a person is in that state of fear, you can't communicate with them telepathically because their brainwave isn't in the right frequency.
So they constantly...
Yeah, they put a wall up around them. So telepathic communication is nearly impossible because I'm sure more and more people are becoming aware there is a negative group down here who they're basically the ones who are spreading the disinformation about the Greys, but they're based on planet Earth and they are a human group. And a lot of the so-called alien abductions that go on are actually faked by this group. They've got pretty fancy technology, so they can fool people very easily. And they will often target people who are already being contacted by the genuine ETs. And so by doing this, they get the person very confused. The person goes through very negative experiences with them, and of course then they blame the genuine ETs. And they are putting implants into people's heads or into their bodies to monitor them. And we remove these implants.
So implants are not ever being put by aliens, or so-called...
Some are from the ETs, but not all.
Not all.
Not all.
Okay.
The more physical ones are from down here. The reason we use implants, we normally put them into the energy system, and they normally vibrate on a higher frequency, and they will just help to maintain the health of the body on all levels. By keeping the person's energy system in balance and harmony, it will help them to remain healthy.
Okay. Do you know much about them? Do you know the names? As in, like, do they have a group name or?
Oh, they refer to them as the Cabal or the Illuminati and the Elites. There's several different names for them. I refer to them in my books as the Controllers.
Controllers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are they in do they come from different species, or they just?
Yes, originally, yes, they came originally from a reptilian species, draconian. But they've been here for many millions of years, so basically they are Earth humans.
They must have been created for a reason, because
Well, for sure. There has to be on a planet like planet Earth. It's a planet of learning. It's a school planet, and it's all about humans learning to handle free will. So therefore, there has to be this sort of Armageddon polarity, duality state down here. Am I going to link into fear, or am I going to link into love? And so the fear aspect has to be presented as a choice for people. Are they going to link into that, or are they going to link into the self-empowerment love aspect? And this is the basis of evolution in a human type species, is learning to work with free will. Because this is another thing that the controllers down here try and make out, that the Greys are going to take free will away from Earth humans. We're not. We love this being a free will planet. That's the whole idea of it. So, we encourage people to make that choice, but they have to make that choice on an individual basis. So
by removing fear and choosing love, you think that humans will always go in the right direction?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
It's like they're on a crossroads at the moment. As the planet's stepping up into a higher vibrational frequency, they have the choice of going with the planet or not going with it. If they want to step up into the higher frequency, we talk about the fourth world and stepping up into the fifth world. If they want to proceed into the fifth world with the planet, then they have to increase their own vibrational frequency to stay in resonance with the planet, because of course you've got to resonate with your planet So if they choose fear, they'll be stuck in the fourth world reality. If they choose love, they'll move through to the fifth world reality. Generally speaking, the changeover is completely natural. We pass over in death into a higher dimension, and then we come back in that higher dimensional frequency. So the changeover is in the so-called death process, and we reincarnate into a higher frequency. So whatever frequency we reincarnate into, like attracts like in energy, so we would be attracted to that level of the earth. These tribal people have been speaking about the fourth world and the fifth world for many, many years now. And this process has been ongoing for many years and will still continue. It's not going to be a sudden bang ascension process that everyone just goes up into the light. It's not like that. Planet Earth is dictated to by nature. So it's got to follow a natural path. So it follows the path of death, rebirth, etc. And hopefully each time we're reborn, we move up to a higher and higher frequency. Something I'd also like to talk about a little bit, I was speaking about free will down here before. A lot of people, as I say, believe that the Greys don't have free will, that we're robots, or we're like a hive mentality, that we have no free will. This isn't true. The Greys don't work through free will because they've actually evolved past that. They've evolved to God's will, which is much more an amalgamated group consciousness, but at the same time everyone does have free will, but down here free will is usually directed towards self, sort of not worrying too much about everyone else, but looking after ourselves. Up there in the Zeta communities and other Greys, everything that we do, every action we take, is always directed towards the good of the whole. So yes, in a way it's the hive consciousness in that way, in that everything is for the whole group. But at the same time, I mean, you don't have to tune into the group consciousness continually. You have your own privacy, you have your own individuality, your own likes and dislikes. And,
So it's like everyone up there, we're all sort of individual being, but yet we all come from one source.
Yes, and they're much more attuned to oneness. They're not in such a state of duality as down here.
And I guess obviously your people work directly to the Creator. Yeah. I was really struggling in the beginning. I had to go through certain religions to try to find the source.
Me too.
It was so difficult.
That was a big thing with me as a child. I did the same thing. I was brought up, educated in a Catholic convent, and I had a real thirst for that spiritual connection. And through my teens, I was very religious. I mean, I would go to mass every week, and I was very caught up in that because I was thirsting for it. But at the same time, I wasn't getting answers. I knew there was more, and I couldn't find it through earth plane religion. So I tried a few different religions on for size, all the searching. And it wasn't until I linked back with my Grey family at age 30, I linked back consciously, that I found, yes, that's what I've been searching for. Because the connection with God or source up there is much, much stronger than down here.
Pure.
Down here it's trust and faith. Up there it's knowledge, pure conscious knowledge. And that was the connection that I was really missing as a child and looking for it.
I remember, I thought that I had to go into a meditative state and connect the roots and open up the so-called crown chakra so I can connect to the God. But I just realized I just connect now within me,
Exactly.
And I can just find it. It's just so simple and so pure.
Exactly, it's all within.
What was your name? Your Zeta name?
Eloka.
Nice. And do you actually have a family up there, or?
Yes, I'm mainly connected with an elder teacher. I haven't got a lot of consciousness of family. I can remember from the past life I did. In my particular case, I didn't have children, but somebody else I know had 2 children. So yes, families are up there. Down here, with fear and love, this is a choice, I think, as I mentioned before, that people have to make before they can move up any further. They have to start moving through their fear. And when you think about it, just about all the belief systems on planet Earth are based on fear. It's not what religion should be about. Religion should be about love. But a lot of fear and superstition has been brought in to control people. So this is where we're coming from on planet Earth. We are very fear-oriented. And the controllers do everything they can to keep people in this state of fear. Hence a lot of the very negative psychic predictions of gloom and doom, etc. Okay, things do happen. I mean, the planet is shifting from fourth world to fifth world. So yes, there certainly is a cleansing process happening on the planet, but it's been exaggerated greatly by certain ones down here who are trying to keep humans entrapped in fear. It's like a fear net that's holding people back. And people need to break through this, and they can do that by learning to reach within themselves to find their own empowerment. That's the key to the whole thing, which is why the ETs are here, to awaken people, to realise, yes, oh wow, I have the God within, I'm a powerful being, I don't need to be trapped in this fear. And love and positivity is a growth process. Fear and negativity is a destruction process, so it can't win out in the end. People feel that they're being swamped by fear and negativity, but positivity will always win through in the end, because it's constructive, it's not destructive. Put our information into 2 books, The Zeta Message and Human by Day, Zeta by Night, and these books are available on Amazon. They're also available as ebooks through Kindle. The Zeta Message tells the story of ET, Earth-Human contact, from the Earth-Human perspective. It's the true story of my own life, my own autobiography, and my co-author Helene Kay, who I was introduced to in the year 2000 when her family began having some very full-on ET contact experiences. And I was introduced to her via a mutual friend, and we spoke a lot on the phone, and I managed to help her out. And they were having experiences almost every night, and I told her to keep a diary of the experiences, and all the diary notes have gone into the Zeta Message. We were in very, very strong full-on conscious contact with one of the Zeta elders, who's given a lot of teachings. These are also in the book. My other book, Human by Day, Zeta by Night, was actually commissioned by the Greys back during a very profound contact experience at a sacred site in the UK in 1995, and they asked me to write a book on ET and Earth-Human contact, but from the ET perspective rather than from the Earth-Human perspective. So it's been marketed as semi-fiction, but it is based on absolute fact. It's actually a dramatisation of the Zeta Message, and tells the whole story from the Zeta's perspective. So it gives a lot of information.